Hey y'all, I'm Angela. So last night I started rereading this series, His Majesty's Dragon by Naomi Novik. Novik at this point is probably best known for her retellings of Eastern European fairy tales, but the place that I started, and that I think she started her publishing career as well, was with these books, which are basically the Napoleonic Wars with dragons. They follow this guy named William Lawrence, who is a captain in the British Navy during the Napoleonic Wars, and he finds a dragon egg. That dragon hatches and imprints on him. And because England desperately needs more aviators, he then joins the Aerial Corps and leaves his life in the Navy behind. These books are about Lawrence and his dragon Temeraire fighting Napoleon and also increasingly fighting injustice. They are books that I have continued to read. I think this was my third time through the series, which was something I started thinking a lot about. In part because this is not what I'm supposed to be doing right now. I'm trying to reread less, not more. And also there are a lot of these books. There are like 9 of them. And at times the pacing is a little bit iffy. There's a couple of the books that, as much as I adore them, are at least difficult for me to get through. So it made me curious, both as a reader and as a writer, about what was really driving me through this story. And as I thought about it, I realized the thing that was drawing me through, as is so often the case in character-driven fiction, was our main characters. So was Lawrence and Temeraire, and in particular, their relationship. One of the things that I complain about a lot in fiction, and I think a lot of other people do as well, is the lack of portrayals of partnership. So most of the time, right, if you see, for example, people in a relationship, it's about them getting into that relationship, not what that relationship is like over time. At least in my own reading, I can think of very few books actually with married protagonists. Books very rarely center this kind of like lifelong partnership. But in this series, like, Temeraire and Lawrence know that they are the most important person in each other's lives from maybe like the 50th page of the first book, and that's just the base assumption going forward. So what that means is that this is a series that, among other things, is really exploring what is it like for two people, even if one of those persons is a dragon, to have a deep and committed relationship to one another in which they support each other and care for each other and challenge each other, and what does that look like? So the first thing that's unusual is just that relationship is the primary focus of the book. The other thing that is really unique is that the relationship being centered is a platonic one. Both Lawrence and Temeraire will have various romantic and sexual relationships, but the assumption for both of them is that the most important relationship in their life will always be their relationship to each other. And this, in their subculture, is the norm. So it is assumed by all English aviators that the most important relationship in a captain's life is their relationship with their dragon. And so what that means is that we have this space in which all of these people are expecting that if they have romantic relationships, if they have a longtime lover or they get married, that is always going to be secondary and of less importance in their life. And so this is the norm in their culture, right? The expectation is that a captain's relationship with their dragon is going to be the most important in both the captain and the dragon's life. And that is not just like the normal healthy thing, but should be actively encouraged. As an ace person, I spend a lot of time thinking about what intimacy and family and just generally life looks like without having a central romantic partner. And in my experience, that's not something that society as a whole spends a lot of time thinking about, but this book definitely are exploring these questions in a way that I found really touching. So Temeraire and Lawrence absolutely adore each other. They are hands down the most important thing in each other's lives. They consistently both make decisions based on the needs and happiness of the other person. It's ultimately a series about a primary platonic relationship and the ways in which they both grow and change together. And that was something that, as an ace person, I found really empowering. And as I was thinking about this more, I realized that ultimately was the thing that was really important to me about these books and that was really touching and that made me feel sort of seen and safe in a way that I hadn't even noticed. People are allowed to be connected to each other and to be caring for one another in a way that doesn't center a romantic and sexual relationship, right? Where the partner that someone has is not necessarily their spouse. Until this time through, I hadn't realized how seen and supported these books in particular, and I think probably this subgenre generally, made me feel. It's just such a beautiful exploration and celebration of platonic relationships that I think in many ways is inherent in this subgenre, and that Naomi Novik in particular does really, really well with these books. Temeraire and Lawrence just love each other so much, and they challenge each other and support each other and grow together. It's like a lot of fun to read, and I feel like both as a reader and as a writer, it was exciting for me to figure out what was sort of clicking emotionally with me. And so I wanted to share that, both for these books in particular, and then, like I was saying, I think this is true of the subgenre generally as well. If this is something that you've also noticed or you feel differently, please let me know down below. If you just have other like dragon books, for want of a better word, that you would like to recommend, you're welcome to recommend those as well. This video is a little bit different than the things that have been on my channel before, so if you enjoyed it, please let me know by giving it a like. Happy reading, loves. Be well. Bye.